Same, by the way. Okay, now we're getting to the good shit. Finally.
Flew in his fucking
Well, that's
plane
what I
26
mean.
times.
That's what I mean.
He was
Yeah.
basically.
And by the way,
it was a
Ghislaine
power move,
Maxwell
wasn't it?
is now come out in court. It's getting no attention, confirming, okay, Clinton did fly to that island. That broke 4 days ago. It's gotten zero attention.
Yeah, no, they're not paying. They're not paying attention. We haven't heard anything other than those court documents that just came out.
Listen, I told you. Listen, guys, it's not like I'm even that special. My mom's brother was a famous helicopter pilot in Vietnam, running Black Ops into Laos and Cambodia and stuff. And then I shouldn't tell these stories, but no one's ever heard this stuff. But you know, I remember growing up, him telling me this stuff, and it was true. Like,
Your uncle is a genocide. A person who perpetrated genocide. Is that what he's saying?
they were. I'm not going to do it. The
Please,
point is,
please.
no,
What's the problem?
I just can't do it.
What's the danger? You said so much.
Well, no, I mean, let's just say he took the fall for something that was going on. He didn't get in trouble for it. He got promoted. And he was involved in Iran-Contra.
And that's how people get promoted. They fail upward by taking a lot of times the blame for something, or that's like common.
Yeah, so I grew up. I mean, I grew up not just him, but other family. You know, it was like something special. You know, about those Navy SEAL guys. You got a security done a bunch of crazy stuff. That's what our military does. It's not what you hear on the news.
Right.
And it's just completely out of control stuff.
Right.
And I mean, my uncle told me. He said, yeah, I know. I got out of working for these groups and everything. As you know, an army officer that was sheep dipped. He wasn't wearing an army uniform and stuff he was doing.
Right.
We were talking high level, like we're talking running the real stuff. Like
Special ops.
He was in charge. He had like the command base in Guatemala City.
Right.
So is Tim Dillon kind of like a?
Oh, you're such a big man, Hasan.
Is he like a clout shark, or what's his deal? Like I didn't know that he was big. He was like this into Alex Jones level conspiracy theories. You know, like I'm an Alex Jones simp too. I love conspiracy theories. I'm an Alex Jones simp as well, but not in the same way that Tim is apparently. Whereas I truly fucking hate it. Like, mods, ban all mentions of Tim Pool and Vosh going forward. Thank you. Also, 60-second ad time, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Of course, they had satellites then, but nobody could read this Morse code coded. So he was sending stuff to the White House Morse code. He was like, when he was a kid, he was a champion Morse coder. So he wasn't just in command. He was like running all the stuff. And he just said, I had to do it because he said it was kids being smuggled out of orphanages by the CIA for sex ops in D.C.
Jesus Christ.
And he told me that when he was dying of pneumonia.
Jesus, fuck.
Yeah.
Now, what is it with kids? Why
It's
is
the way to compromise people.
It's the energy, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody will hurt kids, and he wouldn't. If somebody will hurt kids.
It's like, what else? They'll do anything.
But that's what everyone's so terrified of today, right? That there are some sex trafficking and sex cults,
and there's over 10 times the
high-level
bust.
people. But that's like,
and they are the
Yikes, dude. Tim Dillon is like
Hasan.
He's too much of a simp. Like, I really fucking. Like, I've seen his fucking sketches and stuff, and I thought he was pretty funny, but this is making me really dislike him.
Whores in this house.
Like,
There's some whores in
I
this
can't
house.
tell if
There's
he's
some whores
like
in this house.
genuinely lost in the sauce with Alex Jones, or if he's such a clout shark that he's just like isn't playing with your agenda.
Oh, you're such a big man,
But
Hasan.
if you want to know who rules society, find out who you can't criticize. Children with cancer. That's who you can't criticize. No, I did not mean Jews. I meant children with cancer. I have banned opinions. Look at me. I'm a libertarian. I like to discuss race in areas where they're unacceptable. My opinions are too hot to handle. Bend opinions. I'm so crazy.
His name
People
is
think I'm
Hasan.
delirious, but instead I actually have the right, correct opinions all the time. Like Black Lives Matter is a Marxist conspiracy.
Wet-ass
Ooh.
Make that pullout game weak.
Hi.
Is it not going along with your Marxist agenda? Is that why?
But that's a fact.
Right, but if you want to get like
QAnon shit gets wild and
big-
it's sloppy and messy, and you've talked about that too. It gets sloppy and messy, and they're not right about everything. But the idea there are human trafficking. The entire reason
QAnon is just people on the internet.
they're like playing games,
LARPing, acting like they're taking credit for something, and a lot of them are good people. It's just that you can give them like bona fide, like, look, they just busted a giant child trafficking ring. Associated Press, they don't want that. They want there's underground bases and there's dinosaurs and there's
they
aliens.
don't want the real shit.
They don't want the real thing.
So is it that they're just into things that are just huge, more ridiculous than reality? Like what is?
Yeah, because it's escapism, and Hillary's in prison secretly.
Right.
And,
I think they just learned about the world over the last year, and it melted their mind. Like you've been looking at this stuff
when you were on with Joe a few months ago, you crystallized it perfectly.
Yeah.
They've been asleep.
Okay, this dude sucks.
Now they've woken up, and now they think.
I've never seen someone simp so hard for someone who is like very clearly donkey brained. And don't try to tell me that this is like fucking ironic. What Tim Dillon is doing is not. I love that for Alex Jones, QAnon is the mainstream take, so he doesn't like it.
Everything's a cartoon version. We'll say it like you said.
Yeah, well, it was just like, again, it's like if you didn't know anything about the Franklin scandal, you didn't know about Epstein, or you hadn't read these books, you didn't know the stories your uncle told you. And then eventually you just found out there was an island where all these politicians were going to and having sex with kids and they were getting compromised. Your mind would melt, and then you would get paranoid, and then you would start thinking that everybody's a pedophile and that there's tunnels underground, when the reality is it is bad, but sometimes you have to take a step back and take a breath and realize that, like, there are good people, and not everybody is evil, but there is a lot of evil out there, but you got to take a step back and try to realize, like, what is what.
Well, there's one picture of Clinton getting massaged by this woman, and they were using it as sort of evidence, but the woman's clearly a woman. She's in her 20s, and they were saying...
but she'd been working for him since she was like 15.
Let's never use Clinton as the example of the QAnon people being wrong.
That's not even what I'm saying.
She's
like,
never
there
the
it is. That's a grown woman.
She's a grown-up, yeah.
So,
listen, let's be clear.
Wet
The
ass
media did a limited hangout.
Make that
They
pull-out
went
game
with
weak.
these whistleblowers
Hasanabi.
instead of all the other people. And the fact that the witnesses reported at Epstein Island in the Caribbean, Little St. George, and on the other island too, that boats would pull up in the middle of the night to these shacks with little brown kids. And those are the ones that get disappeared.
but who reported this?
It's in major documentaries. It's in Netflix documentaries. It's in all the witnesses we talked to. And they said, my witnesses, my people I talked to over 10 years ago said, you remember me telling you about it, they've got an island in the Caribbean. They've got an island in the Mediterranean. They've got ranches in the Southwest. And that they...
Well, he had a ranch in New Mexico, right?
Yeah, that came out later. I wasn't told exactly where.
I mean, the idea that these kids would disappear potentially isn't crazy. I mean,
No, it's not crazy
It's
at
not
all.
crazy at all. To think
Here's an example. I was
Yeah.
told by a high-level source that major Hollywood producers, by name, ran a cult where they branded women next to their vagina.
The Nixium thing.
But I put it out 2 years before it broke. So I was
Yes.
told this by a high-level source.
I remember you talking to me about it.
And then they even had articles going in Huffington Post. Jones claims Harvey Weinstein's connected to groups that do all this, and I was just going off what people told me, and I said. I didn't even say Weinstein. That's what's crazy is they were already trying to cover it in case I said that. They're like, oh, Weinstein's not involved in branding women. Well, it never even came out he was. It was the other guy.
Whores in
So
this house.
it's just...
But
There's some whores in this
what
house.
you said
Whores in this
did turn
Thanks
out
for
to
the
be
great
true.
content,
As
Hasan.
fantastic as it sounded, as outrageous, as ridiculous, it turned out to be true.
First
and
time-
now it's in the news.
First time I ever heard of Ted Gunderson. Let me pull him up. Ted Gunderson. It's on Wikipedia, up to be FBI director. He was the head of L.A. Imagine what he learned there. And he used to tell me, he goes, man, I've been in the FBI 20 years. I got to be...
The more I listen to Alex Jones,
Whores
the
in
more
this house. There's some whores in this
the
house.
more my
There's some whores in
theory
this
that he is
2
a
years
CIA
before
agent
Bobby
that's
Hassy
there to
Hass.
like disparage legitimate conspiracies by saying some of them along with like some of the most psychotic conspiracy theories in an effort to again disparage any sort of leakers becomes more clear. Like it's like, oh, I was right on this, I was right on that. It's like, yeah, but you also were wrong on like 98% of everything else, which literally makes it so that like the 2% of the time that you're right, it makes that look crazy as well.
Wet ass
If Glenn
whore.
Greenwald
Make that pull
was like
weak.
revealing documents that he didn't properly vet or thoroughly vet, and like 90% of the time his leaks were fake, and then like 10% of the time they were real, no one would take him fucking seriously.
Be the head of LA. He was like, "This devil worshiping everywhere." Blew me away. You know, pedophilia, you name it.
Instead,
he knew about the Manson thing really being a satanic ritual.
And there's a
instead, of course, for Glenn Greenwald, he
This
makes
is a
himself
deranged
less serious of a person by,
Any
I don't know,
giggles?
dunking on
Deepa
fucking
giggle.
random Twitter accounts with 100 followers and screenshotting them to like yell at them about how they're crazy for
His name is Hasan.
criticizing or being hysterical about Amy Coney Barrett or some shit.
senator from Nebraska named John
Fucking boomer.
DeCamp, who I know
Who he was friends with.
who he was friends with, and John DeCamp was a guy who he blew the whole thing wide open. Like
He was CIA.
He blew the whole thing wide open.
Did
Was
you-
DeCamp CIA? You think? But he was one.
No,
of
he
the good-
told me. I was friends
He
with
was
him.
one of the good ones. Like
He was involved in Operation Phoenix.
and
but
then
yeah.
they killed. Well, that was his mentor. So DeCamp's mentor was a guy who was a high-level CIA guy who Jamie could pull that up. He was in a Phoenix operation and he was killed. And I forget
in
Jamie's dead.
the
in
canoe.
the canoe. And,
Yeah.
and it, you
But
know, the,
Jamie fucking died already. Jamie died 25 minutes ago when you asked them to pull up 700 different articles.
dinner was still on the
Wait a
table.
minute, he was killed in a canoe?
Yeah, this was
Kayak.
a high-level CIA guy. John DeCamp was a Nebraska senator who broke open this human trafficking operation.
By the way, I'm having
Hold on.
yeah, no, it was a pedophile cult. It was trafficking kids across America, and it was centered out of the Omaha Federal Credit Union. It was being run by a guy named Larry King, who was this rising star in the Republican Party. He's probably
Alex
still
Jones
alive.
is less
He has
friends
pictures
with
of
him
Maureen
than
Reagan, all
Greenwald.
that stuff. These kids were being trafficked to D.C., to L.A., to New York, wherever. DeCamp stumbled upon this, stumbled upon the occult, weird ritual shit going on too, in addition to the pedophilia and all that. And then he went to this guy, his mentor, who he knew from Vietnam, from the military, who was a CIA guy, whose name is escaping me.
William Colby.
William Colby. He went to William Colby, and William Colby basically said to the camp, "Listen, you're going up against forces that are way too powerful. You don't even know what you're knocking on here." And then William Colby, I think, changed his mind and said, "Fuck it, you know what? We should stop doing if we're gonna fight this, let's fight it." And then a little while later, William
The funniest person in the chat right now is the guy who's mad at me that I said 98% of the shit that Alex Jones says is false. Who like keeps saying, "Dude, where's your proof of that? I need the source right now. You can't just say something like that without any credibility whatsoever." Like, you're an Alex Jones fan asking me for a source, which is beautiful. I mean, that's actually brilliant. That is an incredible place to be at.
The island itself. Like, first of all, Epstein had this crazy place in New York City.
7-story palace.
That the guy who owned Victoria's Secrets, he gave it to him.
Yeah, because of probably blackmail.
Right. And then there was other billionaires who had
Wait, he says the gay thing about Bohemian Grove, but he doesn't bring up the fact that Les Wexner
Wet
and
ass
Jeffrey
keyboard.
Epstein might have been
Make that
like
pull out,
boyfriend,
Amy.
like
A lot.
secretly fucking one another. Really? Like, so he's like all about the gay sex when it comes to Bohemian Grove, but like literally the one area where allegedly, at least other people have said, Les Wexner might have been secretly involved with Jeffrey Epstein more than just platonically. So weird.
turned out had been glossed over and no
Including
one
Bill
brought it up at all.
Gates. Bill Gates stays there and tried to deny it, but Bill Gates denies staying with Epstein, but confirmed he stayed there and in his Paris home.
Okay. And this was also, he met with him post his first arrest, correct?
Yes.
Because he was arrested.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Chelsea Handler had dinner with him, I believe, after the arrest, too. I mean, a lot of people looked past that, apparently.
Yeah, that British royal.
Okay, Bill Gates met with Jeffrey Epstein many times despite his past. And there
I
he
got to
is.
say, Jamie's really fast.
He's the best.
He's the best.
The American people are tired of women.
So
Send some
let's
surprise
let's go back to this.
He's married Tim Dillon.
Where's
Epstein,
he getting?
Epstein
where's
had a
he-
huge interest in tech.
Where's
He
he-
loved tech.
Yes.
Yes, and he wanted to. He brought scientists and big tech people over his house in New York City.
Here's the deal. They were doing, I said this over 10 years ago, that they were involved in secret breeding programs for cloning.
Okay, before we get to that, scientists. How were they getting these where are they getting all the money? First of all, where's he getting the money to get this island? Where's he getting the money to buy this giant house or get this?
We now know that he was a nexus point from the dirty sides of the CIA, MI6, and Mossad at least.
Yeah.
And so they were compromising people. And then as
Okay, now he's spitting. Now he's really spitting. So
this is a deranged
this is one theory.
pervert.
This is also part of the reason why I say Alex Jones is a fucking op, to make it seem like theories like this seem less credible when it's coming out of the mouth of a guy who just spent the last fucking hour and 30 minutes talking about a multitude of different insane conspiracy theories.
He would compromise people. Most of them knew they were
Remember,
being
he said Jeffrey Epstein might have been an asset for the intelligence communities, working with MI6, CIA, and even Mossad, right after he said cloning human beings. So if you actually were to potentially believe that Jeffrey Epstein is genuinely an intelligence asset, well, you certainly are not going to believe it after you hear a guy, a fucking fat hog, who just on the Joe Rogan podcast said human beings were being cloned right after he said that. It almost seems like Alex Jones is the kind of dude to say so many crazy things all at once that you don't know what's real and what's not real. I'm saying it, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it. Alex Jones is a CIA operative, and he's there to disparage the truth by adding a bunch of fucking falsehoods that most human beings would know is a falsehood.
compromised. They wanted to be compromised to be let in to then run operations and be given even more money.
He was also the money manager for a guy named Les Wexner, who's a billionaire who owns Victoria's Secret, The Limited, among other things.
And
So
that's the guy
he was gifting Epstein a property. He gave him a
Right.
$70
Well, that's where he
million
got some of the first money.
Well, Eric Weinstein, who was a legit
Yes.
financial guy, looked at him and said, "This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking
Of
about."
course
He's
not.
He said he's playing a role.
And then
he met
scientists,
with him.
scientists were like that too. When they went to his house, they go, "Oh, Epstein's is like playing a role.
Yes.
he has no, so whatever he's doing, he's working for somebody."
Well, let me tell you, they want to corrupt the scientific elite to go along with their agenda on climate change, to go along with their agenda on viruses, to go along with their agenda because they know scientists are respected. So you want to have them compromised so they go along with whatever it is you want.
So whatever it is you want. So if you want to do something and manipulate reality to make your agenda go through, you compromise the scientists, and then these elite experts who you have on film having sex with 16-year-olds,
calories
then
do you
you
eat?
Yeah,
can-
so maybe man-made global warming is real and really bad. Doesn't matter. The solution they have is a global tax. You pay them, so it's a scam. But as big as Epstein was, he was small compared to these other finders groups and other organizations that even came out in the news at the time in the late 80s, early 90s. And then the communist Chinese, they're running the blackmail rings with Hunter Biden and the Democratic Party and Dianne Feinstein and all these people at levels way, way, way above anything anybody else has seen.
Jesus Christ.
I always got a bad feeling from Dianne Feinstein.
I never had any feeling.
Turned out
for
her main assistant was a Chinese actual agent.
That's it. I'm saying it. I think Alex Jones is a op.
Truth in the
He's a
chat.
CIA operative.